I call this meeting of the Hurst-Euless-Bedford Independent School District to order. The record show that a quorum of board members is present. This meeting has been duly called and that notice of this meeting has been posted in accordance with Texas Open Meeting Act, Texas Government Code, Chapter 551. Is there no sound? It doesn't sound like it's on, but.
Test. Mine's not working either.
Test 1, 2.
Test. Test.
Test.
Test.
All right, I'll try to get closer. Can you hear it? I call this meeting of the Hurst-Euless-Bedford Independent School District to order. That the record show that a quorum of board members is present, that this meeting has been duly called, and that notice of this meeting has been posted in accordance with Texas Open Meeting Act, Texas Government Code, Chapter 551. Good evening to everybody. It's great to see a large crowd always. So we're going to start this evening by an invocation from Pastor Josh McCaslin from Cross Creek Church.
All right. Will you pray with me? God, we thank you for today. And God, we thank you for all that are represented here today, those who are serving, those who are being celebrated. God, those who are here to be able to get answers to questions. Whatever it might be today, God, we put those things in your hands. And we thank you, God, that you have your grace upon us. So, God, I pray that you give wisdom and discernment, you give direction to us. We plan our ways, but, God, you direct our steps. So I pray, God, for your steadfast love to be here tonight, for your faithfulness to be something that we can stand on. And, God, that we can be a light to our community in all the ways that you've created us. So, God, I pray that each one of us tonight recognizes what a gift it is that we get to be here today, that we get to breathe the air that we get to breathe, and we get to be able to be a part of doing something great. So, God, I pray that you bless this time. You give us all that we need, and we know that all good and perfect gifts come from you. Pray this in Jesus' name. Amen. Amen. Be seated.
Thank you, Pastor McCaslin. Next, we will have our Pledge of Allegiance, which tonight will be led by Andy Doolittle and Madison Hall from Bell Manor Elementary. Come up right here to the front. We'll follow you. American flag over here and Texas flag over here. And once we're done, don't run off. Okay. All right, thank you. And while Ms. Cole reads your biographies a little bit, we're gonna give you these certificates.
Okay, so come get your certificates. Can you all hear me? Okay, Andy Doolittle shines as an exceptional young leader at Bell Manor Elementary. As head of house for Revere, he plays a vital role in fostering school spirit, from helping run the Bobcat shop to enthusiastically greeting students every Friday. Andy is also a key organizer for house activities, enriching the Bell Manor Elementary community with his energy and commitment. Additionally, as a proud member of the Leaders of Tomorrow Club, he seamlessly steps into leadership roles, guiding others and setting a stellar example for his peers. Andy's dedication and natural leadership make him an invaluable asset to Bell Manor, and we are incredibly proud to have him lead the pledges for our esteemed school board members and HEB community representatives. Madison Hall stands out as a remarkable leader at Bell Manor Elementary. As head of house for Isbindi, Madison plays a pivotal role in bringing the Bell Manor community together. She helps run the Bobcat shop, warmly greets students every Friday morning, and has and was instrumental in organizing and implementing the house games for our recent House Day, creating a memorable experience for everyone. Madison's dedication and natural leadership make her an incredible asset to Bell Manor Elementary, and we are so proud to have her lead the pledges for the esteemed school board members and HEB community representatives.
All right, as we're recognizing students tonight, anytime any teachers or parents want to hop up and take pictures, please don't be shy. You're welcome to the center aisle anytime to get pictures of your kids. So please take advantage. All right, next we will have the trustee oath for office 2025 for places 2, 3, 4, and 5. Mr. Williams?
That will actually be administered by our notary, my executive assistant, Mrs. Robin Whitney, who also does a great job running the elections, as y'all all know.
We know that.
So I'm going to turn it over to Robin.
All right, item 3.02 is consider approval of slate of officers presented by the board nominating committee. Mr. Campos?
The board met, and one of the things we pride ourselves in here in HEB ISD is longevity. And the committee met and moved that no changes to the board. So I move that the board approve the slate of officers as recommended by the nomination committee, which is me, us. For board president, it'll be Matt Romero. For vice president, it'll be Julie Cole. For board secretary will be Chris Brown. Now I move the board approve the slate of officers as recommended by the nomination committee.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Campos. Is there any discussion on the slate? All right, we have a motion. I'll accept a second.
I second.
Please vote. And that motion passes. Thank you, board. And there's no need for reorganization of the board. So at this time, would any board member like to discuss having a different seat on the dais? Everyone's okay where they are? All right.
Mr. Romero, before we move on, I would just like to officially welcome from the rest of the board John Began to our team of 8.
Tonight, the Board of Trustees is meeting in its regularly scheduled monthly meeting to officially act on items included on the posted agenda. The Board welcomes and appreciates comments and input from the community. Open forum is provided at each meeting to allow the public to address the Board. There will be 2 open forums tonight. Open forum number 1 is to hear requests regarding agenda items only. Open forum number 2 is to hear requests to make comments regarding non-agenda items and will be heard at the end of the meeting. Those addressing the Board are asked to limit their comments to 3 minutes per meeting. The speaker should identify his or her name, group affiliation, if any, and make a brief presentation with an identified solution if one is sought. Remarks should be addressed to the board as a whole. Oral presentations may not include charges against any employee or board member by name. It is my responsibility to determine if the person addressing the board has attempted to resolve a concern informally or through the district's complaint policies. If not, the speaker will be directed to follow the appropriate policy. The board requests that all presentations be made in a courteous, respectful, and professional manner and asks that speakers monitor their own behavior. If you wish to speak during one of the open forums, please fill out one of the cards located on the table in the entry hall. Next, we will review the board activity chart. Start with Ms. Ewers.
I believe it was 2 weeks ago. I was at Bedford Heights, and I just want to say they had a program over there to recognize the Spanish immersion programs that they have there, and that was quite a production of kids from all levels of Spanish immersion. And I want to say congratulations to Monica Ubulus, who works with that program, and her staff. So that was fun. Wednesday, I was able to watch our community at work as we put labels on 3,000 plus books at the Auxiliary Center, and that was a fun activity participated by a lot of the staff for Kiera Eldridge, and I just want to say a big thank you to her for her organization of that, and we accomplished quite a bit as a community, and that was a fun activity also.
Ms. Cole?
Yep, it's a fun, busy time of year, and there are students every single evening showing off all the things that they've learned and all the things that they are doing, and their teachers have done incredible jobs this year with each and every one of them. But I want to just talk about a couple of things that I've been doing to try to advocate on behalf of all of our students and teachers. And so I think it was a week ago now. It's all starting to run together. But last Tuesday, I spent the entire day and part of the next morning testifying for the House Public Education Committee, working on funding and trying to help all the House members understand our needs and the needs of our students and our teachers. If I had more time, I'd be down there again tomorrow, but you know, I do have that other job. So I also want to highlight 2 other really fun events that I went to that one is the lead HEB reception. So I've been going to lead HEB things for years now. But one of the funnest things is to always sort of welcome in the new group of our HEB teachers who are interested in becoming leaders. And they are signing up for a 2-year educational program that they will really focus on their leadership journey for a 2-year period of time. And so we started that new group, and it's awesome. It's full of really great HEB employees, and I just can't wait to see what the next 2 years bring for them. The HR team has been doing that program for many years, and many of our district leaders and administrators have come out of that program. So they're doing great work in HR. The other thing, and I don't know if it was new this year, or it was just new to me, so I apologize to the VPA folks in the room if this was not new the second year. It was the VPA signing day. So it was a special, when our athletes, oh, thought maybe I was in the spotlight. When our athletes sign their letters of intent to play in college, they get a signing day. So now in our district, the fine arts students that are signing a letter of intent to study and pursue fine arts, whether that be band or music or choir or art, all of those things. So we did a special signing day for those students, and it was a fantastic event, and so many kids going on to the next level to do amazing, to cultivate their talent. All thanks to the teachers in HEB who have instilled that in them.
Mr. Campos?
Just like Julie said, this time of year, we're probably doing something almost every day, and the activities as we get to the end of the year are very, very intense. Not to repeat anything, just a couple of different things that just want to say that I think were incredible this year. Even though it's been like my 5th or 6th year to do Trojan Talk, it seemed like this year was really different. I really got to know my class really well. Almost all of the kids said hi to me at prom and at different things. And I just think the curriculum and the opportunity for communities to come into our schools and be a mentor for our kids is fantastic. These kids get opportunity to work with community members almost every month, and it's just a great program this year. Then I get to see the kids dress up. I got invited to both proms, and I just want to give hats off to the kids that organized the prom themselves, the food, and everything. They do such a great job. And as a board member, I get the wonderful opportunity of actually walking with our staff during this time as they rotate through the prom and just hearing fantastic feedback from our administration and how things are doing and what they think of construction. It's just a great opportunity for me to get some feedback from that. And then last thing I just want to highlight, I got to attend, maybe a little bit long, all of the award ceremonies for our kiddos. And the thing I want to state is so many members of our community that have graduated from our schools have come back and are giving money back to our kids. I mean, it's amazing at the numbers of those that are happening. It just shows how much our community plays in education and giving back to our community. I just think that's amazing to watch as scholarships get distributed.
Mr. Began?
Yeah, I had the pleasure about a week and a half ago of going to see a wonderful production of High School Musical Junior at Wilshire Elementary. And so just a huge hats off to the staff, to the students. They did a wonderful job, and they should be very, very proud. Also, another just really enjoyable thing that this is now my second time to get to do it, is to be a part of the Prize Patrol, which is put on by the Education Foundation. And what the Education Foundation does is it awards grants, innovative grants, to our teachers to try something new, try something out of the box. And so Prize Patrol is where we get to go and give out money. So everybody's always happy. It's a delightful day. And I am really, really proud of the Education Foundation board. This was the first year that they gave out $100,000 in grants to our schools. And so that was just fantastic.
All right, thank you. Let's see, a few things. Let's see, we probably mentioned Trinity groundbreaking. Don Jordan Wells, we had a retirement get-together for her, so that was a lot of fun to give her a proper send-off. HEB Reads was fantastic, as it always is. It seemed even bigger this year, so that was fantastic. And this is something new that I got to do that has never happened before, so it's my first time to do it. On Saturday night, I had the pleasure to attend the LD Bell Band Alumni Gala, which is a new event that they came up with as a fundraiser to help raise funds for their trip to the 2025 Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade, where they'll officially represent HEBSD on a national stage. So they were able to attract more than 70 former Bell Band members to come back together. I think they had them going back to the 60s. Folks showed up. And they just filled the room with music, and it gave me a great lesson on the history of the LD Bell Band, something that I thought I knew a lot about, but I learned a lot more. It was especially heartwarming to see Mr. Jerry Longwell conduct the band at 91 years old. He is the original band director at LD Bell. He started the program. He's the one who built the traditions that all the other band directors have grown upon, and that generations of band students have gotten to benefit from, including 2 generations of my own family. So we enjoyed that fantastic performance. We got to see Mr. Brian Youngblood, who is a LD Bell alumni, a former director at LD Bell, and now he's the assistant director of bands at TCU. He came back and conducted the band for a couple songs. So his passion was obvious. He stuck around and talked to everybody afterwards. So I just wanted to give a huge thank you to Miss Dell and to the amazing Bell Band Boosters for organizing such a meaningful event. And the spirit of the Long Blue Line is alive and well. So if you're able, I mean, this is a huge fundraising effort to get all these kids to New York to show off HEB on that big New York stage. So there's going to be lots of opportunities to be looking out for to give and participate in this big event.
Can I say one more thing,
Sure.
Mr. Romero? Mr. Campos mentioned Trojan Talk. And so since we have such a big crowd here, I want to plug the opportunity to participate in Trojan Talk or Teams as a mentor. And we just happen to have the 2 high school principals here. So if you want to talk directly to them, they are in the back of the room. But it is a great opportunity for community members to spend time with students in the high school and get to know them and mentor them and spend quality time with them. I highly recommend it.
Thank you. Dr. Harrington, any comments?
I do want to share a couple things, and one thing I did want to share, just before this meeting, we were notified that one of the construction workers was injured at our LD Bell site, and so I would just ask everyone to keep that worker in their thoughts and prayers. I also did want to point out, again, activities coming forward. We have our Student Ambassador Celebration Wednesday. Friday, we have the Trinity IB hooding. We've got Keys graduation. Saturday, we have the Bell hooding. Sunday, we got 2 graduations. So it's a busy upcoming few days.
Our favorite time of year.
Yes.
Yes. All right. Any clarifications required?
None at this time.
Thank you. So I'd like to say a quick thank you to our greeters this evening. You may have noticed 2 students in green blazers as you enter tonight. These students are part of the HEB ISD Student Ambassador Program, which is a select group of students chosen through an application process and interview process to be the face of the district. They are trained to assist with public relations and communication services and are given the opportunity to positively promote HEB ISD while developing leadership skills. Tonight we have Mari Leonard, a senior at Trinity, and Lena Tran, a junior at Trinity. We have been using this opportunity to hear the voice of our district students by asking the ambassadors a question. But before I give you to this month's question, I'd like to take a moment to honor Mariana Royer, our former community relations liaison, for her outstanding service to the HEB students and employees. For those of you who are unaware, Mariana resigned from her position in March to pursue her passion for growing leaders. We want to say a quick thank you to Mariana for developing our stellar Student Ambassador Program from the ground up 6 years ago. Mariana, your vision and dedication have created meaningful opportunities for our student ambassadors to grow personally and in leadership, responsibility, and confidence. Your expertise and passion have made a lasting impact on the program and in the lives of each student who has been privileged to be part of the flagship program. Mariana, we thank you for all you have done, and we want you to know you'll be deeply missed. Okay, now for the question. Pretend the board members are fellow students who are thinking about applying for the 2025-2026 HEB ISD Student Ambassadors. What would you want us to know? Sorry. Thank you, Mari and Leonard, for those great answers. All right. Next, we will be appreciating some teachers. Ms. Hollander. Thank you, Ms. Hollander, and congratulations to all the teachers of the year. All right. Next, we will meet our essay winners from the Daughters of the Texas Revolution. Dr. Gilbert. Dr. Gilbert? Dr. Gilbert, would it be possible for the board to get a copy of the essay? Thank you. Congratulations, Aurora. I'm sure that won't be the last we hear from her. Yeah. Right. All right, so next we will be meeting our Junior World Affairs Council 20 under 20. Next, we will be handing out certificates of appreciation to those who have made donations over the past month. So I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Cole. Thank you, Ms. Cole, and thank you to everyone who donated. We're ready for open forum number 1. There are no cards. So at this time, the board will adjourn into closed session pursuant to Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code Chapter 551. The board will adjourn into closed session pursuant to sections 551.071, 551.072, 551.074, and 551.076.
teachers in the form of a $5,500 raise for teachers over 5 years experience and $2,500 raise for teachers with 4 or 5 years experience, or 3 or 4 years. What am I wrong, Jill? I think it's 3
No
or
one
4.
under
No-
3 years.
No
gets
one under
anything.
3 years will get a raise with that. So it gives no funding for that raise. The other thing that's significant is of those teacher raises, it doesn't give the district any money to even pay for the benefits associated with us giving them that raise. So I think some districts are even saying that they would be better off with nothing passed by anybody than to pass the Senate version there financially. So that's kind of where we're at. So where that leaves us with no funding for next year, if they do nothing, which hopefully that won't happen, but we're looking at spending about $26 million of our set-aside funds to balance our budget. House Bill 2 would have, cut that pretty much almost in half, and then with some other changes here and there, we could make that work. Senate version, not so much. So with that,
Before you go to the so with that, can I just
yes,
say a few things?
absolutely, please.
So we're going to hear a lot of lawmakers talk about, record amounts
Yes.
of money for school districts in the bill, which is currently now House Bill 2 with the substitute. And while it is a record amount, it is so prescriptive, as Dobie said, in how it must be spent. And none of us in this state on any board, I can speak, I think, for every board in this state, none of us would begrudge any of our teachers of raise.
No.
However, all of our other costs have gone up substantially since 2019. So while we want to give a large percentage of any additional funding to those teachers, we also need additional funding for a number of other things. Our huge insurance bills that have,
Yes.
doubled or tripled in the last
Yes,
5
ma'am.
years. Is just one example of the costs that have gone up. And so what we need to do as a board collective is we need to be willing to reach out to the Senate Education Committee members and talk to them about the importance of the way the House bill wrote the first bill and the integrity of that. And while it is not enough, it is still, in our estimation, a better way of helping us move in the right direction. Because 2 years from now, we're still going to come back and we're still going to need more. But to revert back to that original House Bill 2 funding, the way it was written is a better option certainly for HEB-ISD.
Yes, absolutely. So with that, I think it has come time for us to start having conversations about a possible funding source, which would be you have voter approval tax rate, VADER, which I will call a VADER, voter approval tax rate election. Some people call that a VADER, some people call it a VATRE, potato. I don't know which is the right way to say it, but I'm going to go with VADER for the rate, and I'll just call it a VADER election for the election. So hopefully I won't get everybody confused. District strategic plan priorities. What of our priorities can we not do without funding? So this touches all of our priorities. Without adequate funding, we can't accomplish any of these. So what is a voter approval tax rate election? So if we want to increase our revenue for the district or increase our tax rate above what is set by the state, which is the voter approval, our voter approval tax rate, then we must hold an election for the voters to approve that. So a VADER, for some of you guys that's been on the board for a while maybe, or remember from days back when. The VADR is basically known as the rollback rate. It's what the modern terminology is for the rollback rate or the effective rate, more or less. And then what the VADR formula allows is the maximum compressed rate that is set by the state plus any pennies, golden pennies the district has adopted. We've, like every other district, and I don't know a district in the state that hasn't adopted the 5 golden pennies. So our VADR is actually the MCR that is set by the state plus the 5 golden pennies, if that makes sense. So, and what triggers a VADR election is when if we adopt a rate that is higher than that VADR rate. That's what the trigger mechanism is. So why would we conduct a VADR election? Increase staff compensation to retain and attract the best employees. That's what we want to remain the place to work. New or existing program, academic and student programs, improve the quality of education to making all classrooms well equipped for learning. Safety and security improvements, support for daily operations. And for us right now, it's a reduce a potential or inevitable budget deficit. Like I say, we've set aside funds, so our deficit is, I don't know that you'd really call it a deficit, but those funds will run dry if we don't get some help from the legislature. Timing is everything with a VADR. So unlike school board elections and bond elections, VADRs must be conducted in November. They can't be conducted in May like the other elections. It must be called at least 78 days prior to election day, so that would be August 18th. Keep that in mind because it comes into play here in a second. It must be called after the adoption of the budget and tax rate. So if we choose to do this, we will have to move our budget and tax rate adoption up a little bit in August to get it done before that August 18th deadline. We'll have to do some maneuvering around at that date. And then also very important is an efficiency audit will be required. And efficiency audit. It can be done by any auditing firm. What most districts, all districts that I know of, we can use our auditor, Weaver Tidwell. It's allowable for them to do it, and they already have all of our data, all of the stuff. What that audit, I think I've got it in here somewhere as a bullet point, but those guidelines are set by the Legislative Budget Board, or the LBB. And what it does, it will compare HEB against 10 peer districts in the function spending level, and then at the state level. So I'd venture to guess HEB should do okay on the efficiency audit, since ERG ranks us as the #1 efficient district in the state. So purpose is to provide the community a report of fiscal management efficiency, utilization of resources. In other words, how are we taking care of our money now? So deadlines no longer than 4 months before the November 4th election, the board must select an auditor. So that makes July 4th is that magic date. What HEB will want to consider doing possibly is selecting an auditor at our next board meeting, which will be June the 9th, because there won't be another meeting prior to that July 4th deadline. So the auditor selected may be the auditor that performs our annual comprehensive report. Andy, I knew I had a bullet point in there somewhere about that. No later than 3 months after auditor selection, which will be September the 9th, assuming we name an auditor on June the 9th, the district must receive the completed efficiency audit from the auditor. And then no later than 30 days before election day, which would be October the 4th, the district must post that audit on our district website. And then prior to election day, the district must hold a public meeting to discuss the efficiency audit. So the auditor would come and present that audit to the board. So sometime after September 9th and before November 4th, most likely we would do that in conjunction with one of our board meetings in late September or October would be my recommendation. Things to consider. Of course, we're in the middle of the legislative session. We don't have answers yet. So any implications from that session that may impact VADR elections. Every community is different. What kind of information do our constituents want to see here? How do we communicate that to our stakeholders, parents, taxpayers, staff. Will there be political action committees for or against a Vader? You know, those are just things we got to consider. But when I'm looking at it from a district money standpoint, HEB, we continue to lag and drop farther behind other districts in teacher pay and healthcare contributions. So these next slides are pretty telling. And pardon this, this is a snapshot of UEA's rankings for 2024-25 for a teacher with a BA or BS degree. And as you can see, where we used to be consistently 1 or 2 in the area in teacher pay, we have dropped and are continuing to drop. And the reason for that being mostly is because we're one of a few districts that has not held a Vader election. You can't compete if the playing field's not even, and it's right now it's getting pretty uneven. Because and here's a slide that's two different columns there side by side, but you can see HEB ranks 30th, but there's a number of districts that are tied for like 14th there. You can see, and then HEB is tied with 4 other districts at 30th in what we pay in district healthcare contribution, which goes up every year and it's going to go up again this year. So these are some districts that we look at and compare ourselves to, and as you can see, there's 4 districts at the bottom that have not passed a Vader election. HEB being one of those. Northwest, Carroll ISD, Garland ISD. Northwest has had, I believe, 2 elections, but has failed them. Garland, I think, maybe has had 1, and obviously failed that. Carroll hasn't had a Vader election to my knowledge, but I also will say I've spoken to people at these districts, and all of those are looking at conducting a Vader this November. So we have that. And then of note is that, of course, you remember last November when we had our bond election, Grapevine Colleyville also passed a 3-cent Vader. So, and I don't know for sure what these other districts are going for, but I know they're going to go for at least the 3 golden pennies. So what could that do for HEB? Now, keep in mind, these are based off of current law. Whatever gets adopted into law by the legislature might change these numbers a little bit. I don't think it'll change them a lot. Your green bar up there at the top, that's our base budget, which includes the 5 golden pennies. That's how much money we start off with, that $202 million total revenue for next year. The ones in gold or yellow color, that's the 3 golden pennies. That's pennies 6, 7, and 8 of the total of 17. You can see just, you know, there's a lot of numbers there, but just probably the far right columns, the gain per penny of 3.6 million, and then that just adds it up as it goes down the list. And then, of course, you have the copper pennies, which are the remaining pennies up to the total of 17 or 12 cents above the 5 we already have. But as you can see, those copper pennies, we would start paying money back in recapture to the state, as well as it would reduce our state revenue. So it's kind of a combination of state reduction in state revenue plus paying back money in the form of recapture to the state for them to redistribute through the Robin Hood mechanism. Looking forward, November 2025 landscape, this November, you're going to see constitutional amendments on that election, possible additional tax compression. There may be a constitutional amendment for that because they're talking about compressing the tax rate some more. As per the old House Bill 3 back in 2019, that's still in play. That'll get reduced a little bit probably, and then a possible increase to the homestead exemption from 100 to 140,000. So those are all going to be on this November's election. Next year, 2026, those are the midterms. That's when you state leaders, your state U.S. reps, that's when they all get elected. Might be a pretty chaotic time to have an election of this type. And then 2027, too early to say. Who knows about that one? So anyway, that's just kind of a brief overview of a Vader, what the possibilities are. And I'd be happy to try to answer any questions you might have about that. Like I say, the main thing is right now if it's something we think we may pursue, we've got to name that auditor and start that process. But we wouldn't actually call the election till August, so.
All right. What questions does the board have?
Well, I don't have any questions, but I have a couple statements.
Sure.
So, while we're never excited about this, putting on my tax hat, we're in an interesting opportunity. For those of you that don't know, the TAD board has flattened the value until 2027. So, if we ever mess with taxes, the timing is everything. We should do it at an opportunity where we have the least possible impact on the taxpayers. And we have this forecast now that we don't have most of the time of knowing that it's not going to go up until 2027. That would be like knowing that a stock is going up, we have an opportunity to buy it 3 years ahead of time. So when he talks about timing, if we're going to do this, we need to do this sooner than later. Number two, because I'm in constant communication with other school districts, a great many of the districts in Tarrant County will do this. So we will not be alone in doing this. And again, we get to do this at a time that things are flat. That's different in 2026 and it's totally different in 2027.
So to clarify, Fred, you're not saying the taxes won't go up if we pass this, because they will go up. The pennies will be higher, so
Correct.
still get taxed more, but the values won't be going up at the same time.
What I'm saying is we've been in a pattern of a 5% property increase on annual appraisals. At least between now and 2027, that factor won't come into play, so that we could be gentler, say, to our taxpayers as opposed to a different time.
And keeping in mind the tax rate compression, House Bill 3 tax rate compression could offset this to a degree. And we don't know what that would be just yet, but could offset it somewhat.
My only point is if we're discussing this, timing is everything in this. And that this will be a pattern that a great many school districts in Tarrant County.
Right. And the list I put up there of districts too, keep in mind that not all of those have gone out for the full 12 cents. Some of those are sitting at 3, 8, Denton's at 1. I think they had 3 at one point and they didn't adopt them 1 year, so they lost them. And I think Keller, same thing. I think Keller had the full 12, and they gave some of them back. So those districts, they could also go back out for another Vader. It doesn't mean they can't still, if they have pennies remaining, they can still go after them. So I think if the state doesn't step up, you're going to see districts doing a lot of stuff. Yes, I would say, yes, at a minimum, the 3. And then it's just kind of going to be up to the board and the district to decide what's best for the district, what are our needs, what's best for our taxpayers. Lots of things to consider there. So, but the 3, we can grab those 3 and get full benefit from those pennies without having to send any money back to the state on that. So I'd say I'd recommend it at least the 3, for sure.
Yeah, I think for me, when I went through this and was really thinking about it, you mentioned, we don't know what's going to happen, what the state's going to come through with during the legislative session. But knowing what I know about what our options are, whether it be the original House Bill 2 or the Senate bill sub to that bill, it's still not enough either way.
No.
Right? For us as a school district to do what we need to do to provide the resources to our teachers and our classrooms. And this type of funding, because it would come to us directly from our community members, our taxpayers, and the folks that vote in our community, it gives us the local control to spend this money in the ways that are most important to our school district, to our community, to our students, and to our teachers.
Absolutely.
And while we can talk about, the best timing and which election and all those things are important, but I want to never forget that this is about providing to our students and our teachers and our classrooms the things that they need to educate our students.
Anybody else?
So other than putting an efficiency audit in place before we decide whether to call the election or not, is there any other piece that we need in order to continue to go ahead? Put us in a position to be able to decide whether to do this or not?
No, other than just, doing our due diligence and homework and all that. But as far as hitting deadlines and, you've got this one here for the efficiency audit, and then that's coming up. And then the next one would be, of course, we'd have to move our board meeting, approving our budget and tax rate. We'd have to move that up a little bit to approve at either the August 11th board meeting. That makes it super, super tight because we don't get values to the 25th of July, and then we got to wait on TEA to come out with the maximum compressed rate numbers, and they don't have to do that till August 5th or 7th, I believe. So it just makes it super tight. Gives us not much time. That or you go to the 18th would be the following Monday, but then I always hate doing that because if you have a hiccup, or power outage, big storm that night, something happens and you had to cancel your board meeting, you've missed the deadline. So
If we did it either on the 11th or the 18th, would we have the compression information by either one of those dates?
oh yes, the TEA has.
The compression impact.
We will.
when we have to
Yes.
make this decision.
Yes. Well, they should come out with that. Like I say, I believe it's August the 5th is when TEA has to put that out there. So there's a real short, even in a non-year when we're not looking at a Vader, that's a real short period of time that we have to make all those determinations and get all that stuff set. Well, I'll have a reasonably good idea of what that should be before they come out with the official numbers, but it's not official till they put it out there. So.
Yeah.
Well, will you have a recommendation for us on if we do generate this additional revenue, how it's going to be used?
Yes, we can. Yeah, I mean, we can use it for any number of things. What we want to do, but
I think we ought to be able to articulate, at least to the
Yes.
public, why we're going out for additional money, and if it's
Yes.
granted to us by the public, what we're going to use it for.
absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, the main thing with adding this additional money is we're stopping the bleeding for a little while, or at least slowing it down.
Right.
Right, because we already have this money in the budget. We're already in a deficit budget, and this is going to help fill that
And
hole.
I don't want to cause a lot of angst, but I mean, we've got money set aside. We're going to be okay.
I know we understand we have the transition
But-
money. I mean,
But it's like I say, that's not it's not going to fix it for a long time. It's
Yeah, that's not a
Willie-
long term.
no, it'll get us by. As Dr. Harrington said many times, we will be the last district standing. There will be many districts that are in much worse shape than we are when it boils down to
You
to
know,
that.
There are districts who go out for this and whistle by the graveyard while they do it because they don't articulate why they're doing it. They
Yeah.
don't.
Oh,
they're not
absolutely.
transparent with the public on when they're doing it. It just happens.
Right.
We're not going to do it that way. And so, if we're going to be transparent with the public that we're going to ask them to vote on this, we need to be able to be completely transparent on
Absolutely.
what we're going to do with the money.
I agree 100%.
and
GB way.
right, overall, if we're gonna maintain high teacher salaries, if we're gonna continue to run programs, but as we're watching these bills and what is not happening, I mean, you're seeing districts that are losing enrollment who are closing campuses. You could see districts who are not losing enrollment closing campuses to consolidate to save that, even though that's not necessarily what they need or even should do, but it's what they will be forced to do because of the lack of funding. The numbers are just astonishing that the inflationary costs have driven us, that they're talking about, and I heard the number and I thought somebody was exaggerating, that we needed over $1,300 to the basic allotment just to get back to the spending power of 2019. That's incredible. That's incredible of what and here we are managing with, and we haven't done away with any program because of the great management that has been put in place here. But I do think that's the thing that we're just going to have to make sure people understand is for us to continue running these programs, to pay our teachers, and like I said, to have the options, because these kids need these options. And those are the things that I think we have to emphasize is going through the list of programs that we offer in HEB that prepare our kids to enter that workforce, to prepare them for the world they're going to be living in. Those aren't protected by just the money that they give us. We've got to have, if they're not going to fund us at the 2019 level, then we're going to have to ask the taxpayers to, or at least get us closer.
Yeah. I mean, it's not something we want to do. I'm just going to say that. I mean, but the state they're putting us in a position we don't have a choice. That or we're going to have to follow suit with what some other districts are doing.
Yeah, I was doing a job for a customer about a month ago, and I didn't realize he did your job in one of our neighboring districts. And when I found that out, we had about an hour conversation sitting next to his air conditioning unit about school finance and this and that and this and that, and just went on and on and on. He was shocked that we had not gone out for Vader. He didn't know that we hadn't. And
well, as you saw on my list up there, there's not a lot, not many that have. That's why I say it's the playing field has, back when they had the previous legislation that what was that called, Joe? The ASATAR, and that was just, I called it funding by happenstance. It was just basically districts got a certain amount per student based on where they landed tax collection wise during the 05, 06 year or whatever that was. That was done just that way, and now they've put in place this Vader type mechanism to where districts have to vote themselves into being able to. So there's still a lot of funding inadequacy, but at least we do have a mechanism somewhat to try to even the playing field. So.
Any additional questions? All right, thank you, Dobie. 11.05 budget-wise webpage. Ms. Hollander?
So I heard a couple of words that warmed my heart. I'll start by telling you that probably about 3 years ago, the communications departments in districts across the state started seeing the need to educate our public, to educate our stakeholders. But I also I heard the word transparency, Mr. Brown. We have been a district, and I would say all districts across the state are transparent, but their information is on a website, and it's kind of dull, okay? You have to really want to see it, and you have to look for it, and sometimes there's a lot of clicks to get to it. And so what we started talking about several years ago was how could we, as communicators, engage our stakeholders. So I do want to say that we've been talking about this for a while, and we've partnered with several different districts and companies that are allowing us to share our story. So we have branded ours budget-wise, and this is something that we wanted to do. This is what the website would look like. You've got the school finance piece, what our local budget is. It talks about our tax rate. And this is another way to connect with HEB. So what I would say is our priority of stakeholder engagement is met with something, with a site like this. This happens to be a site that we were going to launch anyway, regardless of whether you decide to vote on whether to go forward with a Vader. It is definitely something that I feel strongly about, and our ELT feels strongly about. It's just educating and being transparent to our stakeholders. So what I'm not going to do tonight is teach you about school finance, because you know it better than most of our stakeholders. But I want to share with you my purpose and our purpose of just presenting this information. It's about that engagement. It's about transparency, and it's just wanting to inspire and inform. Another purpose that I had was just in this legislative session. We've heard so many different things. Some of it's been right, some of it's been wrong, and we just want a way to share that with our stakeholders. These are the four. We're going to kind of keep it basic and just say there are four. We have 4 buckets that we receive money from. That HB3 reserves is not one that most districts have, but we're going to be transparent and we're going to share with the public what it is. We want to educate them on just some facts. So this is just one fact that might be something that they would enjoy knowing. This is the piece, I know that we talked about this a whole lot when we had our bond, but we want to educate them on what the M&O and the INS are. And then the piece at the bottom, if you look at the green print under each of those columns, you've got the Vader, which would fund the maintenance operation, and then we want to communicate to them that bonds are the only thing that fund the interest in seeking. This piece right here can be very, very complicated, and so I don't know that we'll ever completely communicate to the public about this, but it's just the bottom line is that the state does control our funding and that it is a formula that can be very confusing, but at the same time, we want to give them as much information as we can give them. This breaks down exactly what our funding amounts are. I do want to share that that federal funding amount looks a little low, but that is our local funding amount. We receive a lot of money from, that is in the special ed bucket, and then we also have the Title I, II, III, and IV bucket. And I'm going to, this was something that came up when we were discussing how we were going to communicate this. I'm going to add a slide on our presentation that kind of explains that yes, we do receive more federal funds, but they are not funds that we put into our local budget. Those are tracked through federal funds. Again, some of you may remember this. This would be Debbie Ressler's little game that she does when she takes a penny and or a dollar and shows you exactly how much of that dollar is spent on those areas, and we just want to communicate this as best we can. We want to also, we'll have several pieces of the site that share our tax rate and how that has decreased over the years. We feel it's important for them to know that decreasing that rate has been very important to this district, and we have done our best to keep taxes low in this area. Looking ahead, we want to just talk about what our options are. So we definitely want to monitor the legislature. We want to continue to focus on what our students' needs and programs are, and if those are to expand or if we're even to continue some of those programs, we're going to need extra funds. And then we want to talk about our desire to provide that increased compensation for our employees. As always, we want a call to action, and so we're going to give those who visit this site ways that they can impact our district positively and how they can impact the community positively. Register to vote, become a volunteer, that'll link straight to our volunteer site, and the become a substitute links right to our site where they can join our team. One more thing that I want to share is that two-way communication is very important today. So we have a email address that is going to go straight to the BudgetWise site, and between the business ops and the PR department, we are going to do our best to answer any questions that they have once they've been to this site. This will also provide additional resources. So we've got definitely our website. We've got our financial transparency page. They can always go to the Tarrant County Appraisal District and learn what they want to there. But we just wanted to make sure we provided them with an opportunity to learn all they can about finance.
We collect the questions and have an FAQ maybe if you
Absolutely. That is exactly our plan. Now, one other thing we want to do on this site, and again, this was planned before, this will roll out tomorrow. And we have a social media campaign that's going to point people to the site. And so, again, whether this board decides to do a beta or not, we want to educate our public on school finance. One other thing I do want to share. You have seen about, I don't know, I did about 13 slides of a 35-slide presentation that will be available for any of our leadership to share with PTA meetings. We will share them throughout the district any chance that we get.
I mean, the extra slides are a lot of teaching finance.
Yeah, I would have been
so that's
teaching
why-
you school finance.
That's why she started
Well,
off.
that was going to be my one suggestion for an additional slide, but you probably already have it.
We have a ton.
After slide 7, where you show the teeter-totter, and then the next slide has the percentages. It'd be great to have the percentages on the teeter-totter.
We've got it.
But you're going to have to reverse the teeter-totter.
Yeah. That's true. We have it is Dr. Harrington and I sat down and I said, I don't know that they want to sit through 35 slides of things they already know. Okay.
You know, the other piece too, and I think this is great because we have all of our transparency documents. Dobie's got all of those documents posted, but they're the actual documents. And unless you're an auditor, sometimes those documents aren't the easiest thing to understand. It's taking all that information and translating that into an easy format so that, to the best of our ability, we can help be transparent and help educate people on school finance, which can be very, very difficult and tricky.
Yeah, this is a lot more fun than looking through Dobie's check ledger.
For sure.
I mean, Chris enjoys
Chris loves it. One more suggestion.
Yes, ma'am.
And this is a pet peeve of mine, but I don't know if anybody else has problems with this, but because I'm so plugged into the ledge, when we say on slide 4, we say HB3 reserves, because that was HB3 from a couple
It was.
legislative sessions
You're exactly
ago,
right.
and we have an HB3 now, which is different.
Ooh, good catch.
Perhaps we could put a little, yes.
Okay, I like that. Very good catch. Very good.
Okay, any other questions? Thank you, Deanne.
Thank you.
Next, we'll have our strategic plan update.
All right, good evening. We are excited to bring you an update on the strategic plan. So first, we're going to start with priority student success. This is priority student success goal 1.4. The district and all campuses will achieve a 97% or more student attendance rate to support student academic growth. Our target rate for this goal is 97%, and we are currently at 94.7. So as you can see with our trending data over the past 3 years, we have failed to meet our 97% mark for 3 years in a row, specifically with the major dips in the 4th and 5th 6 weeks. Now, whenever we look at our problems, over the past 3 years, we have this dip. We pulled comparison data with other school districts that were around us and saw that HEB ISD's average daily attendance is at or higher than most of our comparison districts. But we know in HEB that we strive for excellence, and as a continuous improvement district, we want to continue to reach that 97% mark. So our steps in order to remedy this are this summer, we will be having a focus group targeted on attendance. We will include principals, our truancy prevention officers, and other key leaders who will meet and work on targeting our major barriers to attendance and coming up with some solutions that we can bring back to you in the fall in order to help us get to this 97%.
1 second.
Good evening.
Can I ask a question on the attendance?
Oh,
You may.
sorry.
Do we have any sense, and maybe the focus group will tell us this, but is this a truancy problem? Is this a problem of kids not coming to school because they're sick? Is it a third option? Do we have any sense right now what is driving this?
So all of the above, but we aren't able at this time to really narrow in on what the one factor is. Obviously, 4th and 5th 6 weeks, we're always impacted with flu, we're always impacted with weather, but at the same time, to have such historical data where our trends are not getting near 97%, we want to dig deeper and really look into what else. We know it's beyond weather, it's beyond illness, so what are the factors that are inhibiting our students from getting to campus? We're going to start initially with our key leaders, principals, and then we can expand out as necessary, but we'll let them get started and then probably move on to some student panels or some parents if the need be.
Yeah, I'm not sure that parents outside of their own household or their own friend group would know too much about what's happening.
Mm-hmm.
Hello again. I will be covering still priority student success. Thank you. I went too fast. There was there. Quality Indicator 5, Learning Opportunities Beyond Core Academics, Goal 5.1, 5.2, 5.3, and 5.6. So Goal 5.1, all campuses will provide students opportunities to participate in clubs, organizations, and enrichment activities. So in order to collect data for this goal, a new question was added to our 2024 student survey. My school provides opportunities for me to participate in clubs, organizations, or enrichment activities. As you can see, 93% of our students responded yes, indicating strong initial performance district-wide and offering enrichment opportunities across campuses, providing us with our baseline data this year. Yes.
Is that 93% have the opportunity to participate, or 93% of students are involved in clubs, activities, or
93% are involved in these opportunities, and that's all campuses included. 5.2, 60% or more of all varsity athletic teams will advance to postseason competition. Last year was our baseline year of 68% advancing, which then set a target of 70%. This year, in our new competitive district, more competitive district, 4-6A, we performed at a 46%, which we are below target. So doing a root cause analysis, of course, our problem is 46% of our teams advanced postseason this year, not meeting the district's 60% or more goal, and revealing the need to strengthen athletic development and seasonal preparation.
How many varsity teams do we have?
Say that again.
How many total varsity teams do we have?
It's a lot. I don't have the exact number, but it's available in your Friday update.
Okay.
All the teams. Yes.
No, Mr. Johnson.
Oh, you know Mr. Johnson? He's in the Friday update. Okay, so the impact to close the gap and build long-term program success. The district will prioritize enhancing coaching effectiveness, deepening athletic development at all levels, and aligning feeder programs to ensure athletes are better prepared for postseason competition. And these next steps for these outcomes look like targeted coaching development, offering additional professional development, including sport-specific clinics, strategy sessions, and mentorship to enhance coaching effectiveness and game preparation, enhancing off-season athlete training, expanding the access to structured strength and conditioning programs, skills clinics, and team camps to improve athlete performance and reduce possible injury, and then strengthening our feeder program alignment. Continue to collaborate with middle schools, junior high coaches to align systems, terminology, and skill expectations, ensuring athletes are better prepared as they transition to high school competition in the 9th grade. Did you get those numbers? Almost said 46. And in your Friday update, it's broken down between season, so you can see how we perform. 5.3, all varsity band, choir, and orchestra groups will earn a Division I rating at the UIL. Baseline year, we had 86% advancing, which set a target at 90%. Our actual performance this year was 97%, which we're exceeding target. Goal 5.6, all secondary students will have access to travel opportunities for the purpose of cultural enrichment. This is a new goal. Last year's baseline was set at 8% based on the data, would set our target at 10%, and our actual percentage participating is 6% this year, which we are averaging below target. Now, we are expanding our partnership with EF Tours for educational experiences, and this partnership will ensure consistency and quality among avoiding duplicating trips to same destinations across different campuses. which then will allow schools to collaborate and expanding access to more students and maintaining affordable pricing. So during our root cause analysis, of course, student participation is for opportunities is currently at 6%, which was below our target of 10. To improve this student engagement, we will explore how we can increase access to travel experiences that broaden their cultural understanding and support their overall goal. And these next steps, along with EF Tours, which is establish clear district-wide criteria for qualifying travel opportunities, what that looks like over their 8th through 12th grade experience, expand equitable access by replicating successful programs across all campuses, and implement consistent tracking and monitoring for student participation.
So what trips count?
Anything that's domestic through my office right now.
So LD Bell Band going to New York City, that counts?
Yes, it will count.
Okay.
Any Raiderettes, opportunities to go to New York on the history trips. We're thinking about, because this is a new goal, do we count those outside of our area as a part of this culture experience?
I just wasn't sure because, you know, we have these groups of kids who go for spring break to Italy or to France or something. I didn't know if it was just those groups or if it was every
That's
travel group.
actually another goal. I believe that's 5.5.
Okay, and I will cover the priority of family and community partnerships. So our quality indicator is stakeholder satisfaction, and we do not, this is a baseline year for us because we created a survey and we surveyed all of our community partners, and from their feedback, they are 95% satisfied with our district, and that is a very positive rating. On goal 2.1, it is to maintain 8,000 volunteers. As part of our safety focus, we had really refined our volunteer list, and 8,000 is where it stood for very many years, but we refined it with the addition of Raptor, and so we are distinguishing the difference between a volunteer and a visitor, because many of our visitors got counted as volunteers. So this improves safety, but we still are trending upward from last year's 6,000 to this year's 6,295. For adopters, goal 2.2 is maintaining 200 or more adopters per year. We met that last year, and we have increased to 2012, so we are meeting our target. And for 2.5, it is maintaining at least one campus champion adopter per school. This is something that came out of Dr. Harrington's listening tour and his faith-based connections with our community. And so last year we were at 93%, and this year we're at 97%. And one thing to keep in mind is a campus champion is more than an adopter. It is not just giving one or two things or giving money. It is someone who says, I'm committed to this school and I want to provide several different things to that school throughout the year.
I mean, we have one campus that doesn't have one?
We have one campus that doesn't have one, yes, sir.
May I make a correction? So 5.5 is about the MOUs for travel, but those travels opportunities would count in the 5.6 goal. So thank you for asking.
Okay.
So not just domestic travel, all travel?
Yes.
All right. Any questions on any of these updates?
I have a statement on the tennis. The principal, it would be interesting to know if I had any kid with more than 3 absences. I would want to know, one, is he failing is the reason he's absent, or is he not in a club or a sport or something that maybe should be? I know elementary's different. I know we got elementary, but it seems like they're sick all the time. But I think in high school, there's probably a reason to be absent, and if we could find the reason, it may help to discover that.
right, thank you. All right, next, we'll hear about the teacher incentive allotment.
Good evening. So, Dr. Angelique Brading is our coordinator of professional development, and she is joining me tonight to talk with you about teacher incentive allotment and a plan overview. We know that we've communicated information in the Friday updates, and we just want to remind you that within our goals for legislation and within our beliefs of what we believe, how we can support teachers, we very strongly feel that all teachers should receive compensation, and that's our goal within the work that we do, is to make sure that we can provide a system for our teachers. With that said, at the same time, we also feel like while we are working towards that goal and advocating for that need, we also feel like we should provide our teachers the opportunity to take advantage of teacher incentive allotment while we continue to work towards advocating for all teachers. So teacher incentive allotment is in alignment with strategic plan priority employee success goal. The district will increase employee retention to meet or exceed the following percentages, and they're listed there. And also our priority of safety and well-being for all staff and students, with the goal that they will have access to ongoing preventative measures and interventions to support their physical, mental, and emotional well-being when necessary.
Okay, before I give you some description of basically what teacher incentive allotment is, I do want to let you know that our district consulted with Rev Partnership and with Garrett Landry from Steady State Impact, which those two organizations alone have guided other school districts across Texas in how to at least initially proceed through getting your plan approved by TEA. So we did submit our initial application in April. We had a quick deadline when we heard from TEA that they were going to continue to fund this project and that they're not anticipating the money going away anytime soon. So we thought, this is one more thing we can do to support teachers. Can you drive? So what is teacher incentive allotment? It was created by the Texas legislature under House Bill 3, and its design was to help recruit, retain, and reward effective educators in the classroom. Initially, it started at high-needs campuses. That's where it first began, like in those rural areas and far South Texas, but over time, it has now come into the Metroplex. And the other piece to that is that they want to encourage professional growth and development of teachers, which we'll kind of talk about here in a minute. So there's 3 different designations that teachers can receive under the teacher incentive allotment. You can become a master teacher, you can become an exemplary teacher, or you can become a recognized teacher. And the 2 notes at the bottom, the amount of money that you will receive if you do have the designation is dependent upon the economically disadvantaged percentage at the campus where you work. So we are receiving each year teachers from other districts that are coming to us with these designations already on their certificate. And then we also grow our own teachers by collaborating with Birdville ISD and the National Board Certification Program. We provide cohort support in helping them pass through that enormous process of becoming a National Board Certified Teacher, which is now 3% of teachers nationwide have that recognized status. So that is also automatically under TIA, under the recognized. But a teacher that comes to us as recognized and then qualifies for a higher designation, that just changes on their certificate. Okay, so, and these designations are good for 5 years. So say last year a teacher earned her master level designation in Dallas ISD and came to us and we hired them, and this is year 2, that teacher would have 3 more years of being eligible for the funding, which could be different every year depending on which campus he or she worked at. So how are the designations determined? So we have 2 components right now initially that we have submitted to TEA for approval. Student growth would count at 65% because that's a mandatory component, and the other mandatory component is T-test domains 2 and 3. We have 4 domains total. Domain 1 is about planning, and then domain 4 is about your professional development as a teacher, really, and your growth with the community and what you do. So in order to have these 2 components met, TEA recommends, they have a list of growth measures designed by a third party that they will approve, which is what we went with. And you can see that list on there at the top. Circle is a pre-K reading assessment, and then we have MAP assessments, which are well-versed on that, and we have STAR performance level transition tables, which are approved by TEA. And then in our district, previously, for our T-test observations, we've never scored teachers' observations. We know the different levels that they can score at, but TEA will require us to actually assign a score. And the way that we do that is there are different levels, so you can be distinguished, which gets a 5. You can score a 1 to a 5 on each dimension, and there are 5 dimensions under domain 2, and there are 3 dimensions under domain 3, which is the learning environment, so for a total of 40 points. And then if you are, I'm going to give you some examples. I come up with 2 really easy examples that are in the next couple of slides so you can see how a teacher would be eligible for a designation. So this is the list currently that we have submitted for year 1 approval that would qualify as being eligible for a designation should they meet both the growth standard and the T-test standard that is set. This is the starting point that Lindsay was talking about earlier. And again, we started with that because that was recommended by Rev Partnership and Steady to State Impact, because those are third-party assessments that they are used to sending through on the applications that TEA will approve. And as a side note, I will let you know that 700 districts we're in cohort H. This year alone, 700 other districts applied by the April 15th deadline, because districts are starting to realize this money is still there, and they're saying it's going to be there in the years to come. I know that's not always the way it works out, but
I have a question, maybe a slide or 2 ahead.
Okay.
When you talk about growth, how much growth do you have to have? Is it 10% growth or 5% growth over year 4, or how do you measure the growth of that teacher?
So once the plan is approved by TEA, as a district, we'll sit down and decide the growth, the cut points for student growth. But typically what we do for MAP assessments is we want a minimum of 50% of students in that teacher's classroom to show growth.
Okay,
after
so
all the
it's
check
number
put.
of kids, not percentage.
Right. It is, like if you have, and that's going to be on my example, if you have 20 kids in your class,
Maybe ahead of you.
yeah, and 10 of those kids made growth, you would get 50%, which would then be weighted at the 65% to determine. And I've got 2 breakdowns for you. So basically, right now, the way this plan has been submitted is it's the percentage of points earned from domains 2 and 3 on T-tests, plus the percentage of points earned from student growth. Okay. And so we are getting to the examples in just a minute. So this is a breakdown, statewide percentages that TEA releases. What they're saying is only 5% of the teachers in Texas, the top 5%, are master level. And then you see 20% for exemplary and 33% for recognized. And the reason, and they look at total picture, everybody that's submitting the information. And what this is designed to do is to get administrators, it's no additional work on the teacher's part, so that's good. But we need to be more aligned, which we'll talk about some too here in a minute, with how an appraiser appraises a teacher. It should be matching the growth of the students in that teacher's class. If you have a teacher that's got a distinguished across the board and everything, but only 30% of their students are making growth, something's not right with that. And those are the kinds of calibration activities that we're going to be going through to make sure as a whole in the district, all of our administrators are aligned. And then we'll have different activities throughout the year too, where we do training videos, like monthly at the principal meetings, and just constantly redirecting to make sure we're all on the same page. And we do have Region 11 coming out. They work with TEA and TIA and have a package deal already ready that they tailor make to HEB, which we've been working with them to come out and do an initial training for our principals and APs. Okay. Here's example number 1. This is teacher A. So if the teacher on average is a 3.7 out of 5 on domains 2 and 3, that gives you 74%. And then if you weight the weighted portion of the 74% times 0.35, that teacher would have 25.9 points for T-test. And you look at the student growth, 10 out of 20 students made growth, so that's 50% times the 65% gives you 32.5 points for a total of 58.4 points. So what this tells you is, and you'll get more detailed information about how we know this in your Friday updates, and it will also be, it's in the FAQ that's going to go out to teachers too, so it's very broken down. This is just an overview for us here today. But teacher A is considered a proficient teacher, and you can see a proficient teacher, and she's got about 50, or he has 50% that are showing growth over the course of the time using that third-party benchmark. That's pretty much on par. That teacher, depending on our cut points, probably would not be pushed through to Texas Tech, who is our validation. They work with TEA to say, okay, HEB, everybody they submitted for a designation, we confirm 100% validation. Because if we send people through who are not aligned, it won't work. They will send it back and we would have to start over. Okay, so this is teacher B. This is a little bit different. So this teacher on average scores 4.75 out of 5. So most of her or his ratings are coming at the accomplished level. The highest you can get is distinguished at a 5. 4 is accomplished, 3 is proficient. With any teacher who falls below proficient, they're automatically out of they're not eligible for a designation, and that's a TEA standard. But this teacher has, you can see when you do the same math like we did for teacher A, that teacher ends up with 88.5 points. That teacher will fall in our cut point somewhere, depending on how we have it, what we decide to do locally, and that would of course be shared out because we will have a TIA handbook that will have all of the specifics for HEB outlined in that. All right. So our general timeline, year 1, they call this the application year. So we won't hear from TEA for approval or edits that need to be made until August. So then we spend year 2 collecting data on teachers and their student growth measures. So we'll spend 1 whole year collecting the information that TEA wants, that we have to turn in to see if they're valid. And then, and I already said this at the bottom, less than 100% validation equals we have to start over. So we have to work really, really diligently to make sure we start off doing everything the right way. Or we're doing it for nothing and we'll have to delay and delay and delay and wait till the next year's application deadline to resubmit. Now, the good thing is when we get started, when we're approved, every year by the April deadline, we can apply for changes to be made. And so, like, if we want to come up with to include more teachers, if we have to come up with our own locally designed assessment, which is more difficult to get approved, but if we have to include a certain group of teachers, then we just apply for an addendum to our original plan. And we can change anything we want every year as long as we apply to TEA for approval. Okay, so in year 3, and just think, last year was considered year 1, this is year 2, this school year. So next school year, the summer of 2027, that is going to be the first payout for teachers. We won't ever have this delay again. This is just the initial startup delay. So after this summer of 2027, they will get their lump sum in one paycheck, correct, Cicely? That's how we do it, in August. So they'll get that, and then moving forward, they'll get whatever their amount is based on where they work and the economically disadvantaged population. So this is a lot of information, and we just felt like we couldn't wait another year to just try to see if we could get additional funds for teachers. There's nothing extra they have to do. And it's designed to be collaborative, because a lot of times we used to think when we did Career Ladder and things like that, that you wanted only the GT kids because you wanted your test scores to be perfect. That's not the way it is anymore. Like, every student can show growth, even the very lowest student. And that's good, because you want those kids, because they're going to show the quickest growth if they have quality teaching in the classroom by those educators. So everybody has an opportunity, and no one teacher can knock out another teacher, if that makes sense, or keep another teacher from getting it. So with that, I think, immediate next steps, we've already covered this. The calibration training will be provided this summer, and then we'll do ongoing calibration exercises. And then we've already started communication to stakeholders, but it will get more revved up once we know we have approval. And then human resources, and we've been working with other districts too, but they have to work diligently to update policy to reflect what we're doing. And we'll have to have like an appeal process for a teacher that may say, I don't agree with this administrator's rating of me. So what's our process going to be for that? Yeah, they never do. So we will have, the good thing is we have good models of other districts who are going on year 4 and year 5 of doing this already. And we can, they're collaborating with us openly, saying, here's what worked for us, here's what you want to stay away from. And in the future, if we want to add additional components in addition to the T-test and student growth, we can do that. But at a minimum, we have to have those two.
So just a point of clarification, when we talk about what the cut points are that are, let me find the right slide for you. Right here. So when we talk about these cut points, we know in HEB-ISD we hold our teachers to a high standard. We have really amazing teachers in our district and really fabulous students as well. So based on the statewide percentages, we're not working to put our HEB-ISD teachers in a box. We anticipate that we are going to skew the state because of where we are and the work that we've already done, which is why we believe this is a win for our teachers and a win for our district. If we truly believe that our goal as leaders of this district and our goal of principals is to coach our teachers to be the best that they can be in their practice, and then our teachers to be the best that they can be for our students, this program will help us achieve that and reward our teachers for it. But we know that we're already set up with excellence. And so we aren't trying to reduce our teachers. We're going to continue to try to make them the best that they can be.
And we currently have 11 teachers in our district with designations out of all teachers.
I have a question. When can we add more categories?
So on our list, at the end of year 2 or during year 2, so as soon as we're approved in August, we'll begin the work of developing systems to support the scaling and starting that process of what would be our next categories to add, and then we can add them in, as Dr. Rating said, every April. So we will start immediately determining who else are we going to add and how are we going to make it work. We've already started talking with other districts who are ahead of us and have scaled the program beyond STAR scores and MAP or elementary levels of calibration.
My other question, if I'm teaching Algebra 1 or say English 2 as a sophomore, but I have 2 classes of English 2 and 2 of English 3.
Mm-hmm.
Do I still qualify? Or you have to?
You do.
You can teach 1 class of English 2 and qualify.
Yes, one
You
section.
can. So you can teach 4 sections of chemistry and 1 of English 2 and you're good to go.
So what I need to do at Trinity is make sure every one of my English teachers teach one try of English 2.
As long as they're certified.
While that might be a great idea on the surface for TIA, from a system standpoint, we have experts of teachers that are teaching English 3 and 4, and we want them to be teaching in the area that their expertise is going to. That's a choice, but I just think it's important to.
You know, here is the reality, and we've told the consultants that we're working with, we do want to be aggressive in getting more categories added. We want to get as many people added. What they've told us is if you're going to do this, you've got to start here. Like, this is an aggressive start to begin with already with the number of classes that we're offering, but we're going to keep looking to expand this, because if this program is going to work the way it is supposed to, then we ought to be able to eventually get everyone into it. And it has been, as we've talked to districts early in it, they have not found success. And so we're watching to see the districts that have been successful. Some of our friends have been doing this well and have rapidly added teachers to this list. And so we're going to, as long as it exists, we're going to work hard to add as many people to it so that we can honor all. Like Lindsay said at the very beginning, I'm not in favor of this plan. I'm in favor of the state giving us the money so we can pay all of our teachers, not some of our teachers. We need all of our teachers. Everyone plays a part in getting those kids across the stage, and those parts can be extremely important for the rest of their lives. And I don't think all the jobs that our people do are being honored with this system in its current form. I'm hoping either we can continue to adjust this process, or we can continue to advocate to pay all teachers.
As a side note, out of our original local school districts that voted not to do this, and we did the national board certification only, we're the only ones moving forward. And we did meet with all of the other school districts that we initially decided to do national board only with when this started. They didn't have time to prepare to make their application, so they're waiting to see what happens. Now, Irving ISD is the next closest one that was kind of similar to what we're doing. So they are going to apply, but they just couldn't get it together in time for the application like we were able to do.
And we were able to do that through our partnership with REV.
Yes.
Yeah, and when we initially got into this group, we had hired a consultant within the group. Now the REV partnership is actually paying for the consultant, so that is at no cost to the district.
Well, and this is a complete sea change. I mean, this is a reversal from what we've chosen not to do previously, and it's not just a matter of, yes, the funds are going to be there from the legislature, but the problems that have kept us from doing this are also still going to be there.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm directing this at you, but Brandon or Joe, please jump in. Because and add to this if you think I'm missing something, but really at the top of the list of reasons not to do this is you're creating classes of teachers within the same grade who are now not eligible to earn the same, and you're creating classes of teachers at different schools who are being compensated for doing the exact same job at a different school because of the economic disadvantage.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, those are the two big reasons, right? How are we going to work? Because those are still going to be here. How are we going to work to thwart those cons that have kept us from doing this? And why are we now, do you feel, at a tipping point that those cons don't outweigh the pro of the program?
Yeah, our hesitation on this program is just what you said. We didn't agree with that philosophy that went into it, and so we stayed out of it. But in an environment where we have an incredible teacher shortage, and now we're looking at, Angelique was talking about how many new districts are told. I was told by the end of this cycle there will be over 800 in. of 1,200 districts, and that includes all the charter districts. This is going to become another piece of competition. As we compete to hire, we're going to have to give people the opportunity for what is on the table. We're leaving thousands and thousands of dollars on the table that is there for teachers to partake if we don't. I'm not going to stop advocating to pay all. I'm not going to stop advocating, but as we try, I can't tell one teacher, you can't get what you're eligible for because I can't get everyone. I think my goal is I'll get that one, and then I'm going to get another, and then I'm going to get another, and I'm going to keep trying to get as many as I can as long as they still believe this is the system in place, because I think that's going to help us remain a competitive district in this environment of a teacher shortage environment.
Well, I think in addition to that, so if we look at our system in the last several years, we have worked to adjust our system at the elementary level. Ms. Clark with her work with LTEP on our elementary campuses, where every teacher has the opportunity to sit together and be coached by one another, where we have created a system of looking at data at a whole different level and really digging deep within that, so that our master teachers are working with our recognized teachers and helping them grow up to that same level. And now that we're taking that down to our secondary level, we will have those PLC practices in place through that LTEP model. And so that is only going to work to strengthen every single teacher when we look at that coaching and training piece. And I think also with our CI reboot, we're also working to bring that CI practice back into our classrooms, so our teachers do have strategies and skills that they can use in order to effectively look at their daily practice and make adjustments in order to work on that growth or that T-test measure.
The other key caveat back when this first started was that the amount of resources that districts were going to have to put into this would force you to create entire departments just to qualify teachers for teacher incentive allotment. And then also at that time, everyone that was first in was trying to do the locally defined sources, and none of that was proven, and most of it was not validated. And so because some time has gone by and the governor has doubled down and the legislature has doubled down on putting more money into teacher incentive allotment, we're in a position to say, okay, we're already given math. We're already given the assessments that we're given. And so that's a good starting place for us because it's what we are already doing. And so the major shift from our standpoint is the T-test. And so we get tighter on the T-test piece, and we go back to us evaluating every year. And that's the major shift for administrators. So I hope that
there's a good portion of the funding in the current bills that you only have access to if you're in TIA. If you're not, you won't. And that's going to continue. And they're not talking about simplifying school funding. They're talking about making more of these kind of caveats. And if we're not participating in it, I foresee our ranking continuing to drop because those other districts are using TIA money that we don't even have access to.
If we're accepted, are the formulas that are used to calculate the dollar amounts to each campus, are those prescriptive? As in, we can't make a alteration to that percentage, or is it red tape that we're tied to?
Just to make sure I'm answering your question, the amount of money that teachers per designation would earn is what you're talking about. Per campus.
Right. So when you're at a highly economically disadvantaged campus, you get a higher percentage. Lower economically disadvantaged campus, you get a lower percentage. Do we have any flexibility with that, or when we're in the program, we're tied to those differentiations?
We're tied to that funding is set by the state. The only thing that we can adjust is we're at 90-10. We can adjust our percentage and take more money away from teachers, which we would not want to do, because the 10% is the administrative costs that is part of that fund, that formula. So we would not want to mess with that formula. because we want to give as much to the teachers that earn it.
Those numbers, though, they recalculate that every year,
Every year.
correct? So those numbers change depending on the economically disadvantaged numbers every year. So every year they're going to come out with a new calculation for each campus, for each level.
One thing we're planning on doing, and TIA has already done this, to put like a teacher calculator, give them access to that so they can kind of start calculating their own, what they might be eligible for, which rating. So we'll be working on that along with, just open, transparent communication, of course. And I did want to let everybody know on the board that we realize that we're going to start getting a lot of teacher questions and scenarios and things like that we won't have all the answers for right now. But I'm keeping a very detailed call log as to what those scenarios are, so we can start looking at the trends and seeing what is it that we haven't thought of or that we need to think of, that we can put into our big document that says, okay, if, for an example, student A was with this teacher first half of the year, but for whatever reason got transferred to a different reading teacher, how's that going to work out with the funding? Assuming both teachers got a designation, we could locally set those parameters, and we would. That would be part of our overall handbook, so to speak.
So next year, you're planning on calibrating with all the administrative staff on making sure
This summer,
this summer.
in 2 months.
But then next year, when they go into the year and they're doing their appraisals, they will be calibrating and looking across. And the teachers, so when they're doing the appraisal of those teachers, is that information going to be given to the teachers? So when they're looking at their appraisal, even though they're not getting money, they can say, well, here's where you were, this is your percentage of students that had growth, and here's your percentage, on the other part. So every teacher is going to
So
receive that information.
they
even
will
though
have,
They may not qualify.
so as long as they have one of the assessments that we're using, so for all the teachers that are on the list in one of those subject areas, they can use like the worksheet that we talked about, and we'll teach them how to input their numbers to look at, okay, if my growth rating would have gone up 5%, here's the difference of what I would have seen. So we'll provide tools so that teachers can be aware and informed of where they are and where they're trending.
But even a teacher that has, like, say, let's just say an Algebra 2 teacher, I mean, they're not eligible because Algebra 2 is not on that, but they still, we would still want them to be able to look at that, to be able to be thinking about, where are my kids?
Yes.
Correct?
We would just have to determine what we're going to use as our growth measure for those Algebra 2 teachers, since we don't have one identified yet, but we can come up with a system that they would be able to see.
The 11 teachers that we have from other districts that are already here, are they receiving extra funds from the state because they were already in that program somewhere else? So do they not have to recalibrate here? Or, so it's for 5 years they get that no matter what?
But they must be in an eligible, like they must be teaching that eligible criteria area.
In that area.
And if for some reason they came and they were a band teacher and their district had band as part of their designation and we don't, they will not get any funding if they come here, right?
But also, if I'm paid 32,000 a year and I'm on it for 5 years, is that right? Then I can pick any school district I want to go to get hired. Could I do that?
Yeah, but it's wherever you go,
I have to choose the
every
same thing.
individual campus will have its individual amount. So you're on it if you're teaching an eligible campus, and if they're in the plan, if they've got.
So,
Yeah, if you
So-
go from a campus that's 90% financially disadvantaged to one
So-
that's 10%, your money's going to drop.
So, Andy, one thing that helps us is our teachers would qualify for a larger amount because of our economic disadvantage. So they wouldn't really want to go somewhere that had lower economic disadvantage because they might take a $10,000 pay cut
In their payout a lot.
in their teacher incentive allotment payout. Yeah.
So we believe what will happen is teachers will want to come to us because they're already receiving TIA in their district. And then it's an opportunity to recruit.
So if I'm in Leda, I'd love to come here.
I mean,
So you put up the summary of statewide percentages under each of these designation levels. 5 for master, 20 for exemplary, and 33 for recognized. Is there any sort of artificial cap that the state puts on us to try to force us to keep the numbers somewhere into these categories? Or do we have any cap that we can have an unlimited number of master teachers, an unlimited number of exemplary teachers?
As long as our data is valid.
As long as the growth matches the t-test evaluation.
As far as I know, there's no cap on us with how many can be in each.
So that was going to be one of my questions is, do we have to go through a process of looking at this whole new thing that we're adding to our school district and combining it into or working it into our strategic plan that we just adopted to make sure that everything's in alignment and that we have goals that are, we want 10% master teachers, 25% exemplary teachers, 45% recognized teachers. Is that something that we need to look at doing?
So, I love that you just mentioned that because we're getting ready, we're gearing up for our end of year strategic plan full-on report for you all. And what next year would be is the data capture year where we would set a baseline to set what our goals could be for future years. And so as part of the strategic plan review, that's when we talk about things that maybe we need to add, maybe we need to adjust, maybe we need to stop because we've already hit goal and we far exceeded it. And so those are some things that are definitely going to be part of the discussion. One additional piece that I just wanted to throw out, you might be wondering, so what does this mean for you all? It means that as we look to develop ways to get more teachers qualified for it, we're probably going to be coming back to you and saying, okay, this tool allows us to get a measure, a growth measure on students so that we can qualify this group of teachers. And so that will be something new that we will be bringing to you all as it comes up in the future.
Yeah, I mean, I hate to be overly skeptical, but, as a school district, we've all had a policy since I've been on the board, and John, this is for you, I guess, that we don't budget money that we know or that we aren't sure is recurring. So, I mean, that's how we built things like our capital projects fund and things like that, because money that we get that we know is not recurring, we don't spend it. So applying that to teachers who are getting money for a set 5 years, I wouldn't go buy a bigger house because you're getting this money for 5 years. Because as we learned in 2007, 2008, just because the state says, don't worry, we're going to hold you harmless, the money's going to be there, doesn't mean it's going to be there in 2 years. You could think you're going to be getting the $30,000 for the next 5 years, and then they could say, yeah, program's over. Then where are you? And I'd hate to see what that would do to the state's education system with resignations and retirements after they did something like that. But I would have to assume it's only a matter of time, because you have a bunch of corporate types trying to apply a corporate model over our education payment system, but our teachers aren't out there making widgets. You can't reward the person who makes the most widgets more money because you can't measure it the same way. Growth is still somewhat subjective no matter how much we try, no matter what test you give. There's a reason they change the test every year, because they can't get it right, because they don't know what real growth looks like. So, when you're dealing with some subjective stuff, eventually they're going to throw in the towel and say, this doesn't work, and it's going to go away. And I'd hate to see what's going to happen when that happens.
Is this where I should hit the wives again?
All right, any other questions? Thank you. We have a few action items to cover. Nothing was removed from the consent agenda. So 12.02, consider approval of revision to board policy GKD local.
So this is a simple reference to the administrative regulation. That's the change to local policy, is referencing that we've added that regulation. Any questions?
Any questions on this regulation? I'll accept the motion.
I move the board approve the revision to board policy GKD local as submitted.
Second.
I have a motion and a second that the board approve the revision to board policy GKD local as submitted. Please vote. And that motion passes. 12.03, consider approval of revisions to 2025-2026 employment calendar date. We're
All
over,
right.
over the 2.5, I hear.
So you all approved at the last meeting for us to add a transportation dispatcher. So in essence, we took one dispatcher who was working a certain number of hours. We lowered those hours, added a second one, which requires us to come up with a new calendar. So that's what you're approving tonight, is the addition of the dispatcher calendar.
All right, any questions? I'll accept the motion.
Second.
I have a motion and a second for the board to approve the revised 2025-2026 employment calendar dates as presented. Please vote. And that motion passes. 12.04, consider approval of CSP 25-05 HEB ISD 2025 large kitchen equipment.
Mr. Romero, Dr. Harrington, members of the board, this item is part of a systematic plan project for improvements at our cafeterias. Ms. Nauer has created a list of things that we take on each summer, and this will allow for installation or replacement of walk-in freezers and coolers at the 5 campuses that are identified. A couple of items that pertain to this, or information that pertains to this. We normally like to bring this as a one read and then action. However, using a consultant, the time was not, did not allow for us to go through the process, get it evaluated, and in time for your consideration at the May 5th meeting. So we're bringing this to you as a one-read item with action. Another component to this is you might see some information in the backup documentation that looks a little out of the ordinary. We had 5 proposals that were submitted. One was disqualified because of they failed to include their payment and performance bonds. So when we removed them, then it did not score the other one. So you'll see on the final evaluation for the committee is a 1, 2, and a 4 position. Well, where did the other one go? They didn't disappear, but it was based on how the other 4 submitted their proposals. So it doesn't change the recommendation, doesn't change the pricing or anything like that. It's just a clerical error that got past us.
All right, any questions on this purchase? I'll accept the motion.
I move that the board approve CSP 2505 for HEB ISD 2025 large kitchen equipment to be awarded to Supreme Fixture Company, Inc. as presented.
Second.
I have a motion and a second for the board to approve CSP 25-05 for HEB ISD 2025 large kitchen equipment to be awarded to Supreme Fixture Company, Incorporated as presented. Please vote. All in favor? All opposed?
Oh, there it is.
That passes 7-0.
It's come up here, but it still hasn't.
All right, well, that motion passed. 12.05, consider approval of submission of 2024-2025 application for low attendance days waiver. Mr. Mr. Williams.
Okay, this is something we bring to the board each and every year. We are allowed to apply for attendance day waivers when our attendance at a campus falls below 10% of the average for the prior year for that campus. This year we have one weather-related day where we actually attended school that day, but the temperatures were, I think the high was maybe 25. A lot of our students walk, so we had low attendance at a lot of our campuses just because for that reason, I would think. And then the other one was just we had various days at various elementary campuses because of illnesses, flu mostly, flu, stomach bug. So we're just asking the board to consider approving that application.
All right, any questions on these waivers? I'll accept the motion.
I move the board approve the submission of the 24-25 application for low attendance day waivers for all instructional days that meet the state criteria for low attendance, and authorize the superintendent of schools and/or his designee to submit the waiver application on behalf of HEB ISD as presented.
I have a motion and a second for the board to approve the submission of 2024-2025 application for low attendance days waiver for all instructional days that meet the state criteria for low attendance, and authorize the superintendent of schools and/or his designee to submit the waiver application on behalf of HEB ISD as presented. Please vote. Do we need to do a hand vote? Okay. It only has to go from there to there.
Julie, did you get it?
Yes.
And that motion passes. Ready for open forum number 2? No cards? Other business? Does any board member have a item they'd like to request be placed on a future board agenda? All right, we don't need a second closed session?
No, sir.
I'll accept the motion to adjourn.
So moved.
We're adjourned.